I never thought I would be sharing this. My name is Martin Hayes and I was a man of science. A geophysicist who spent years studying the Antarctic ice walls, never once believing in anything beyond what I could measure and observe. My life revolved around data, equations, and cold, hard facts. Faith was a crutch for those who needed comfort, or so I thought. But everything changed on February 12, 2025, when my life ended. It was supposed to be a routine expedition, just another day in the frigid, uncharted regions of Antarctica. My team and I were stationed at an isolated research facility, studying unexplained electromagnetic anomalies emanating from deep beneath the ice. These signals had been fluctuating for months, defying all logical explanation. My job was to analyze their patterns, searching for connections, perhaps to geothermal activity or some unknown force lurking beneath the frozen surface. That morning, I awoke before the others. The weak sun barely kissed the horizon, casting a ghostly blue glow over the ice fields. As I suited up, an unshakable sense of unease gripped me. It wasn't fear exactly, just an instinctive dread that gnawed at the edges of my mind. I dismissed it as exhaustion. Weeks of sleepless nights and relentless drilling had taken their toll. The mission for the day was simple: drill deeper than ever before. We had targeted a specific region where the signals were strongest, an area that had been mysteriously restricted for decades. But with recent government clearances, we were now free to explore. We never should have. As the drills bored into the ice, the equipment malfunctioned. Our GPS systems glitched, our readings became erratic, and the radio started picking up distorted whispers, sounds that weren't coming from any of us. Then, at precisely 11:42 a.m., it happened. A massive fissure opened beneath my feet. The ice, solid and unbreakable just moments before, collapsed like fragile glass. I had no time to react. One moment I was standing on firm ground, the next I was plummeting into darkness. The last thing I heard before everything went black was my team screaming my name through the radio. But I was already gone. When I came to, I expected pain. Broken bones, suffocating cold, death. But instead I felt weightless. There was no agony, no struggle. Just silence. I was floating. Below me, my body lay twisted, partially buried beneath shattered ice. I should have felt horror, panic, despair, but I didn't. Instead, a strange, overwhelming calm settled over me. It was unnatural, unlike anything I had ever known. Then I saw them. Figures in white. They stood at the edge of the fissure, watching me with an unsettling stillness. They weren't human, but they weren't threatening either. Their forms glowed, pulsing with an otherworldly light. Their presence was ancient, yet familiar. And then I felt it, a force pulling me upward. The ice, the ruins, my team, they all faded. A tunnel of brilliant, living light opened before me. It wasn't just light, it hummed with energy as if it were alive. And without hesitation I stepped forward. Then I heard his voice. Martin. It was the most powerful yet gentle voice I had ever heard. The moment he spoke my name, I knew who it was. Jesus. Tears filled my eyes. Every doubt I had carried, about faith, about the afterlife, about the very fabric of reality, crumbled in that instant. You have been brought here for a reason, he said. What you are about to see must be shared. I turned, looking back at my body. The rescue team had arrived, frantically trying to revive me. My heart had stopped for exactly 12 minutes. But something else was there, lurking in the shadows. Dark figures. They moved around my lifeless form, unseen by the living, whispering things I couldn't understand. They were drawn to death, to fear, circling like vultures. I felt an instinctive dread. Jesus placed a hand on my shoulder. Do not fear them. They have no power over those who are mine. At his words, the dark figures recoiled, hissing as they vanished into the abyss. The world is blind to what exists beyond their sight, Jesus continued. But you will see. Come, Martin. There is something you must understand about what lies beneath Antarctica. With that, the scene around me shifted. Suddenly, I was no longer in the ice fields. I was somewhere else. Somewhere that defied everything I thought I knew. If this story has gripped you so far, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There is so much more to reveal and you won't want to miss what's coming next. The transition was instantaneous. The ice, the darkness, and the frozen landscape vanished, replaced by something my mind could barely comprehend. The space around me was not empty, yet it was not made of matter as I knew it. There was light everywhere, but it was not just light. It vibrated, pulsed, carrying a presence that I could feel deep within my very being. I turned to look at Jesus beside me. He was serene, his gaze filled with a love so pure and overwhelming that it felt like a fire consuming every doubt I had ever held. He did not need to speak for me to understand. We were no longer in the world I had known. Before me, a vast expanse stretched into infinity, unlike anything I had ever seen. It was neither sky nor land, yet it was both. The air, if it could be called that, was thick with something unseen, something alive. Colors beyond human perception shimmered and shifted, merging into patterns that my mind struggled to process. There was no sun, yet everything was illuminated by a golden radiance that came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Then I saw it. A massive structure stood in the distance, its size incomprehensible, its presence undeniable. It was unlike any city, any fortress, any temple built by human hands. Its walls pulsed with energy, carved with symbols that seemed to move as I looked at them. I felt as if I were standing before something ancient, something that had existed before time itself. Jesus spoke, his voice steady, filled with authority. This is what has been hidden from the world, Martin. What lies beneath the ice is not just history. It is a warning. A deep sense of reverence and an inexplicable fear settled over me. I could feel it in my soul. This place was important. But I also knew that whatever was buried here was never meant to be uncovered. As we moved forward, I realized that we were not walking in the way I understood. There was no effort, no strain, only movement, as if the very space around us responded to Jesus' will. And as we approached the structure, a terrible truth began to unfold before my eyes. The Antarctic ice walls were not natural formations. They had been placed there. Seals. Not barriers to keep people out, but to keep something in. A shiver ran through me, even in this place where cold did not exist. I had spent my life believing that the world operated on simple, measurable laws. That all things could be explained by physics, by science. But here I was, standing before proof that reality was far more than I had ever imagined. Jesus turned to me, his expression filled with sorrow. Mankind is not uncovering knowledge. They are breaking the seals. His words hit me like a hammer. I saw visions flashing before me, scientists drilling deeper, their faces filled with excitement as they discovered something beyond their understanding. Governments watching from the shadows, orchestrating events long in the making. The world being prepared for an announcement that would shake the foundations of faith, of history, of reality itself. And then I saw what lay beneath. The ground trembled, and in an instant, I was no longer standing before the fortress. I was looking down deep into the earth, through layers of ice, through time itself. Something was stirring. It had been sealed away long ago, long before the first civilizations. And now mankind, in its arrogance, was waking it up. I saw shadows moving, shifting beneath the surface. Not human, not animal, not of this world. I turned to Jesus, fear gripping my soul. "What is it?" I whispered. He looked at me and his answer was simple. Deception. And with that single word, the vision around me began to collapse. The ancient city, the ice, the golden sky, all of it dissolved into darkness. A sound, deep and resonant, filled my ears, like the echo of something vast and unseen moving beneath the surface of the world. Then, suddenly, I was falling. The veil had been lifted and I was being sent back to a world that was not ready for what was coming. The moment the frozen landscape of Antarctica vanished, I found myself standing in a place that defied all reason. It was neither land nor sky, but something in between, a vast expanse stretching endlessly in all directions. There was no sun, yet everything was illuminated by a golden radiance that seemed to come from the very fabric of existence itself. The air, if it could be called that, was charged, vibrating with an energy I could feel deep within me. Jesus stood beside me, his presence radiating a peace so overwhelming that for a moment, I forgot everything that had just happened. The fall, the darkness, my lifeless body buried beneath the ice, it all seemed distant, like a memory from another life. "Look, Martin," Jesus said, his voice steady, filled with sorrow and authority. I turned my gaze and saw what lay before me. A city. Not a human city, nor anything resembling the civilizations I had studied. This was something else entirely, colossal structures rising into an endless sky, built from materials that shimmered and shifted as if they were alive. The architecture was both impossibly complex and perfectly symmetrical, every angle, every curve pulsing with an energy that made my soul tremble. I couldn't tell if the buildings were ancient or newly formed. They existed beyond time, untouched by decay, yet carrying the weight of eternity. At the city's center stood an enormous gate, unlike anything I had ever seen. It was not merely a doorway but a boundary, a barrier separating two realms. It pulsed with a dim, flickering light, as if its power was fading, as if something on the other side was pushing against it. "These walls were placed here long ago," Jesus said. "Not by men but by the command of my Father. They are not natural, they are a seal. A seal. The word sent a shiver through me. The ice walls of Antarctica were not merely a frozen wasteland. They were not a barrier to keep humans out. They were designed to keep something in. Mankind believes it is discovering history, Jesus continued. But they are breaking what should never be broken. I saw flashes of events unfolding before me, scientists drilling deeper, their excitement growing as they uncovered something buried beneath the ice. Governments watching from the shadows, orchestrating what would be revealed and what would remain hidden. The world being slowly prepared for an announcement that would change everything. And then I saw it. Beneath the city, beyond the weakening seal, something was moving. It was vast, too enormous for my mind to fully comprehend. A shadow stretching endlessly, shifting, writhing. It had no true form, yet it was alive. It was not a being in the way humans understand life, but something ancient, something that should never be awakened. The moment I saw it, an instinctive terror gripped me. Every fiber of my soul screamed that this thing did not belong in our world. "What is it?" I whispered. Jesus' face was sorrowful. Deception. The ground beneath me trembled, and suddenly I was no longer standing before the gate. I was seeing the world through a different lens, as if a veil had been pulled back from reality itself. I saw governments and scientists standing before cameras, delivering an announcement to the world. Their faces were calm, their words carefully chosen. They spoke of discovery, of progress, of a revelation that would reshape humanity's understanding of itself. They would say that something had been found beneath the ice, something ancient, something powerful. They will say it is proof of mankind's true past, Jesus said. They will call it enlightenment, an evolutionary milestone. But it will be the beginning of the great deception. I saw people across the world watching, captivated. Some in awe, some in fear. I saw religious leaders struggling to explain how this discovery fit into their teachings. Some would resist, calling it a lie. Others would embrace it, twisting their faith to align with what was being revealed. And then I saw what would come next. The beings that had been sealed away would be presented not as enemies but as allies. They would come not with weapons but with knowledge, with promises of healing, of technology beyond anything humanity had ever known. They would claim to be the architects of human civilization, the ones who had guided mankind since the beginning. The world will not be forced to accept them, Jesus said. They will desire it. They will welcome them with open arms. I watched as people lined up to receive something, an upgrade, a gift. It was not a weapon nor a command. It was a choice. But as each person accepted it, something in them changed. Their eyes lost something, some spark, some essence that made them human. They continued living, working, moving as they always had, but they were no longer the same. They have severed themselves from me, Jesus said. And once it is done, it cannot be undone. I turned to him, my heart pounding. How can they not see? How will they believe this? Because the enemy does not force them to choose between good and evil, Jesus said. He convinces them that evil is good. I felt my soul tremble. This was not a war of flesh and blood. This was a war of deception, a battle for the minds and hearts of mankind. The world will celebrate, Jesus continued. They will say that humanity has entered a new era, that suffering will end, that knowledge will set them free. But in truth, they will have given away the only thing that matters: their souls. I wanted to scream, to deny it, to refuse what I was seeing. But deep down, I knew it was true. Jesus reached out and placed his hand on my shoulder. It is time for you to return, he said. You have seen what is coming. Now you must warn them. A part of me wanted to stay. I wanted to ask more, to see more, to understand everything. But before I could speak, the vision shattered. The city, the gate, the darkness beneath the ice, it all collapsed into nothingness. And then I was falling back into my broken body, falling into a world that was not ready for what was coming. If you are watching this, know that what I have seen is real. The deception is coming and few are prepared. But those who hold to the truth, who cling to faith, will not be deceived. The question is, will you be ready? A violent gasp filled my lungs as I was pulled back into my body. Pain rushed in, every nerve screaming as I convulsed on the cold ground. The voices of my team, distorted and frantic, echoed around me. Someone shouted my name. Hands pressed against my chest. The world blurred, the harsh glare of artificial lights blinding me. He's back. He's alive. The words barely registered. I was drowning in the weight of what I had seen, my mind still tethered to the vision, to Jesus, to the truth that could not be unseen. But as I blinked and focused, reality took hold again. I was in Antarctica. I was back in my body. But I was not the same. I had been dead for 12 minutes. Doctors later confirmed that my heart had stopped completely. No brain activity. No signs of life. Yet here I was, fully conscious, staring at the people around me as if they were strangers. They were desperate for answers. They wanted to know what I had experienced, what I had seen in those minutes that I had been gone. But how could I possibly explain? How could I make them believe that the world they knew was built on lies? That Antarctica was not just a frozen wasteland but a prison for something far older than civilization itself? That the ice was not protecting us from the elements, but shielding humanity from an ancient deception waiting to be unleashed? I tried to speak, but my voice was hoarse, barely a whisper. Jesus, I saw him. Antarctica, it's not what we think it is. Silence filled the room. Some of them exchanged glances, unsure whether to dismiss me as delirious or to press me for more. But one of the younger nurses, standing at the edge of the crowd, believed. I could see it in her eyes. I've heard things, she murmured, about what they don't tell us. Before I could say anything more, I felt a deep, unsettling dread crawl up my spine. Something was watching me. I turned my head toward the farthest corner of the room, and for a split second I saw them. Dark figures. Lingering in the shadows. Waiting. And I knew, they understood that I had seen the truth. They knew I had been sent back to warn the world. And they would do everything in their power to silence me. The days after my return felt unreal. My body was alive, but my soul had been changed forever. I could still hear Jesus' words echoing in my mind. The deception is coming. The world will believe it. I tried to go back to normal, but nothing about my life felt the same. The research, the numbers, the science, it all seemed meaningless in the face of what I now knew. The Antarctic mission was abruptly shut down. Officials arrived, confiscating all data, silencing any talk of what we had discovered. They told us it was a classified security risk. They told us to forget. But I couldn't. At night, the visions wouldn't stop. I saw governments preparing their announcements. I saw scientists unknowingly uncovering what had been buried for eons. I saw people across the world being slowly conditioned to accept what was coming. It had already begun. The deception was unfolding in real time. And then I received a message, an encrypted email from an unknown source. You are not alone. They know you saw it. Do not stay silent. The message was unsigned, but I knew whoever sent it had ties to the classified operations in Antarctica. Someone inside the system knew the truth and wanted me to speak before it was too late. But what terrified me most was the final line of the email. The seal is already breaking. I don't know how much time we have left, but if you're watching this, I need you to listen. Do not trust what they tell you about Antarctica. When they announce their discovery, know that it is a lie. Stay grounded in truth. Stay close to God. The world is walking into the greatest deception in history. Will you be ready? I knew the risk of speaking out. People who revealed too much often disappeared. Their careers, reputations, and sometimes even their lives were erased as if they had never existed. But after what I had seen, I couldn't stay silent. I began reaching out to people I trusted, scientists, journalists, and those who had already started questioning the official narratives. Some listened. Some dismissed me. But others knew more than they should have. One former government scientist sent me another message. You are right, but it's worse than you think. They aren't just uncovering something, they've been expecting it. That was when I realized this was not an accidental discovery. The drilling, the research, the slow trickle of information into the media, it was all planned. They weren't just digging for answers. They were preparing the world for what comes next. News reports confirmed my fears. Articles about unexplained heat signatures beneath the Antarctic ice. Announcements of breakthrough discoveries that hinted at a hidden past. But I knew what was really happening. They were conditioning the public. They couldn't tell people everything at once. It would be too shocking. Instead, they would drip-feed the truth, mixing it with lies, twisting it just enough so that when the real unveiling came, people would be ready to accept it. Jesus' words haunted me. They will not make them choose between good and evil. They will convince them that evil is good. Asterisk, asterisk. And people would welcome it. Governments would tell the world that this discovery was proof of humanity's true origins. That it was a new era for mankind, a step toward evolution, enlightenment, and unity. But it would be the final deception. I had to warn as many people as possible. If you're watching this, know that I don't gain anything from telling you this. I don't do this for money, for fame, or for fear. I do it because the truth is all we have left. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. We are building a community of people who are awake, who refuse to be deceived. Your support means everything. The deception is coming. But those who know the truth will not be fooled. I felt it before I saw it. A shift in the world. A deep, silent tremor in my soul. The final deception had begun. The news came in waves, carefully orchestrated. First, whispers of an ancient structure beneath the Antarctic ice. Then, leaked documents, interviews with so-called experts who hinted that humanity's past was far different than what we had been taught. Then the announcement. Governments across the world gathered for a historic press conference. The most powerful leaders, along with top scientists and even some religious figures, stood before the world and told us the greatest lie in human history. We are not alone, and we never have been. They presented it as a moment of unity, a chance for mankind to embrace the truth. They claimed that what lay beneath the ice was not a prison but a gateway, a connection to beings who had guided human civilization for millennia. They promised new technology, cures for diseases, unlimited energy. The world rejoiced. But I saw the truth behind their words. I saw the darkness creeping at the edges. The beings they spoke of were not benevolent. They were not ancient gods. They were the ones Jesus had shown me. The ones sealed away. The ones who had waited for this moment. And now, mankind was breaking the final barrier. I wanted to scream, to shake the people around me, to make them see what was really happening. But their eyes were filled with wonder. They wanted to believe. They needed to believe. The world was embracing its destruction with open arms. Jesus' warning echoed in my mind. They will say it is enlightenment. They will say it is progress. But it is the final deception. Asterisk asterisk. The Antarctic ice walls had been more than a natural formation. They had been a divine seal, placed by God Himself to keep these forces from returning. And now they were free. I don't know what happens next. I don't know how quickly things will change, how long it will take before the world realizes what it has done. But I do know this. It's not too late. Not yet. For those who can still see the truth, for those who refuse to be deceived, there is still hope. Jesus did not show me this so I could live in fear. He showed me so that I could warn you. Hold on to your faith. Do not be deceived. Stay awake. Asterisk asterisk. What comes next will shake the world. And only those who stand firm in the truth will withstand it. If you've made it this far, you were meant to hear this message. Do not leave without hitting like and subscribing. Stay connected, because what's coming next will change everything. And if you're ready for the next revelation, just click the video appearing on your screen now. We are running out of time.